What is up, Dallas Cowboys fans? Welcome into the Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz podcast for a Monday. Good morning to you. Hope you made it through the weekend okay. Hope you had the weekend that you wanted to have. Or you could have been like me and you rolled about 10 weekends into one. Yikes. We don't need to talk about that, though. It was fun. It was safe. Look, everything was safe. Happy 4th of July. If we hadn't been there yet. Couple days late, but we don't do these things on the weekend. So hope you had a safe one. Hope you got to celebrate with those that wanted to celebrate with you. We'll just say that. So again, the rumor mill takes priority over the show because over the weekend I saw some pretty crazy, and look, we've seen some crazy Cowboys rumors, I feel, through our time together. But maybe none as crazy / almost viable, I said almost, as the one that we hear floating around about Shedeur Sanders and the Dallas Cowboys. And this is the it's really the only. It's the kind of rumor that can really only be about the Cowboys. It only works because of the Cowboys. Shedeur Sanders, Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, backup quarterback drama. That is the recipe. That's the headline. That is the fireworks, if you will, here. The Cowboys are being floated nationally as a possible landing spot for Shedeur Sanders if Cleveland decides to move on from him before training camp. And look, before we go any further with this, I will tell you, I covered the Browns, still do, just not as extensively as I did last year, years before, when I was doing the entire AFC North. I covered Shedeur Sanders at Colorado. And, of course, we're all familiar with Dion. We all know that. The situation. The Browns, I'm not sure they ever wanted Shedeur Sanders. Of course, they picked Dylan Gabriel before him in that same draft. Where's Dylan Gabriel in all of this in Cleveland? Who knows? Who knows what's happening in Cleveland? Cleveland's going to Cleveland. But it would not be crazy for me to think that the Browns, while they're sort of in a retooling, they've got a new head coach in Todd Monken. They've got some flashy new receivers. One of those being Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M, who I've covered since he was in high school. And just it's a whole new sort of attitude and regime. And I don't know. Think about whatever you want with that with Cleveland. But it's the side of this that's not crazy is the fact that Cleveland could want to get rid of Shedeur Sanders. By the way, Deshaun Watson back in town and probably starting for Cleveland in week 1. That kind of tells you where they're at. So the first part of all of this is that's not crazy for them to think that they might want to get rid of Shedeur Sanders, their 5th-round draft pick from a couple years, I guess last offseason. But before anybody runs with this, keep in mind this is strictly a rumor. This is not the team saying this. This is not a confirmed Dallas Cowboys trade pursuit. This is not Jerry Jones standing in front of a microphone saying, hey, we're interested in Shedeur Sanders. This is an offseason rumor doing what offseason rumors do best, taking a big name quarterback. I certainly think Shedeur Sanders is a name. Didn't say he was good. And then attaching that name to the Dallas Cowboys and then watching the internet blow up and catch fire. That's what this is. But here's why the rumor works, why all of this works. Because the Cowboys have Dak Prescott, clear starter. No quarterback controversy at QB1. It's Dak Prescott. He's the guy, period. But behind him is where things get a little bit interesting, and we've talked about this offseason already. You have Joe Milton, and you have Sam Howell battling for the quarterback job. Brian Schottenheimer has already made it clear this offseason, recently, that it is an open QB2 competition. We know Joe Milton has the arm talent. We know that Sam Howell has starting experience. He beat the Cowboys, his very first NFL start ever, when he was with Washington. Both of those guys have something to prove. And if you're the Cowboys, that QB2 spot, and if you're fans, I think it matters more than maybe a lot of people think. Because this is not a team that's rebuilding. This is not a team that's punting on the offseason. This is a team that's trying to win right now. And when you're trying to win right now, your backup quarterback can't be a dude just holding the clipboard. This has got to be a dude that can save the season for a week, maybe 2, maybe 3. God forbid longer if something disastrous happens. And that's why Shedeur Sanders' name creates a little buzz. So why does Dallas make sense for Shedeur Sanders on paper? Well, you can certainly understand why national people would connect him to Dallas. He is a name. He brings attention. He brings confidence. I don't know what kind of confidence that is. But just like his daddy, he oozes confidence. He has the Sanders family name behind him. That means something in the Cowboys organization. And if he was in Dallas, he would get time to develop behind Dak Prescott, instead of being shoved into the starting chaos like he was kind of in Cleveland. So for Shedeur, sitting behind Dak Prescott would be the ideal NFL situation for him. Dak has been through everything already here in Dallas. The praise, the blame, contract pressure twice, playoff criticism, national microscope, all of it. He's been there. If there's one quarterback room that understands how loud life can get, it's Dallas. And for Jerry Jones, now come on, this is the kind of storyline that Jerry Jones was born to stand right next to. A young headline-making quarterback with a famous name and a possible long-term upside play, that's Jerry Jones' catnip. But that doesn't mean that this is smart. It definitely doesn't mean that it's necessary. So why does it not make sense at the same time? The problem with this idea is that the Cowboys don't need more noise. They need answers. They need Dak Prescott healthy. They need Dak Prescott sharp. They need CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens to be the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. They need their offensive line to protect Dak. They need the run game to be effective, and they need Brian Schottenheimer's offense to take the next step. They don't need a backup quarterback to be the biggest storyline in training camp. Because if Shedeur Sanders is in Dallas, he's not just another developmental name on the roster. He is a daily topic. Every Dak interception in practice becomes a debate. Every Shedeur completion in 7-on-7 becomes a viral clip. Every bad offensive possession becomes a question mark nationally. And Cowboys fans know exactly how this works, right? Dallas doesn't have normal football discussions like other teams do. Dallas has national referendums. The backup quarterback in Dallas is never just the backup quarterback. Remember when Dak was a backup quarterback? That didn't last very long. It took an injury. Now, he took advantage of it, but it was still a story. Remember when Tony was a backup quarterback? It took one bad first half from Drew Bledsoe to launch Tony Romo's career. In Dallas, the backup quarterback is either the future, he can be a distraction, he can be an insurance policy, or he can be the guy everybody wants to see the second the starter has one bad quarter. Look, I'm old enough to remember when Roger Staubach played, and Danny White was the backup / punter. Still one of the greatest position meshes I think I've ever seen in my life. I don't know why that doesn't happen more, to be honest with you. Especially in today's NFL. Think about the possibilities. If your backup quarterback is also your punter, the possibilities of fake punts, the plays you could develop and run. I don't know why it's not a thing more, to be honest. By the way, some of you guys are going to hate on me when I say Danny White was my all-time favorite Dallas Cowboys quarterback and still is. With all due respect to Roger, not saying Roger wasn't better, just saying growing up, I liked Danny. Still do. Great dude. We all remember in the 80s, if you were around, the backup, even the guys backing up Danny. Heck, Danny went to 3 straight NFC championship games and somehow lost them all. But it was always the backup quarterback conversation. Always through the 80s. Through the, good Lord, I don't know, Glenn Carano, Gary Hogeboom, through all those. Kevin Sweeney in the strike year, whatever. We don't need to go down memory lane with the Cowboys quarterbacks. But it's a dangerous game to play when your franchise quarterback is already under pressure to win big. You don't need that additional storyline in camp. You just don't. So, to me, the real story is not, should the Cowboys trade for Shedeur Sanders? That's not what we should be talking about. What we should be talking about is, are the Cowboys actually comfortable with their existing quarterback room behind Dak? Because if they are, then this rumor dies very, very quickly. You don't need to use draft capital on bringing in another guy in a room that you're already happy with. If the Cowboys believe Joe Milton can be developed to utilize that massive arm, and if they believe Sam Howell can be a reliable number 2, then there is no reason to bring in the circus that would be Shedeur Sanders. And I have nothing against Shedeur Sanders. I think he has amazing physical talent. I also think Shedeur Sanders has a lot of distractions, and some of it is very, very internal. Can he get past that? Maybe. Will it curtail his career before he gets started? Maybe. But that doesn't need to happen here in Dallas. But if Dallas is slightly unsure about either Joe Milton or Sam Howell, and if they are watching this QB2 battle already and thinking we might need something more here, then that's where a name like Shedeur Sanders becomes interesting, because he's not ready to take Dak's job. That's not the story. It's not because the Cowboys should be planning for life after Dak right now. They shouldn't be. But because backup quarterback is one of those spots that nobody cares about until it becomes the most important position on the roster. And in a season where expectations are super high, the Cowboys cannot afford to be wrong here. So here's my take, if anybody wants to listen, or you can shut it off right now. I would not do it. Not unless the price is absolutely ridiculously low. And what do I mean by ridiculously low? Shedeur was a 5th-round draft pick when he was supposed to be a top 5 pick. We all remember the draft fall. That has no bearing on what his price tag is right now. Whatever team is interested in him should set that themselves in the building, regardless of what Cleveland tells them it's going to be. What is a ridiculous price to go out and get? If the Cleveland Browns said, you know what, we'll take a 6th-round draft pick, yes, I go make that deal. If I have doubts. Again, if the Cowboys are sure that they've got it in either Milton or Howell, then I'm not even considering this. If the Cowboys are at all unsure, and Cleveland says, I'll take a 6th-round pick, yeah. Hell, you spend a 3rd-rounder on Trey Lance. For God's sake. The hell was that all about? So, look, the Cowboys have enough national attention right now. They really do. They have enough pressure. They have enough moving parts. And if Shedeur Sanders walks into that building, he instantly becomes the biggest training camp story. And that's fun for TV. That's fun for us doing shows. That's great for us writing Cowboys articles. It's great for clicks. But is it good for a football team? I'm not convinced of that. And if Dallas wants to add a veteran backup quarterback at some point, fine. If they want to let Milton and Howell fight it out, fine. But adding Shedeur Sanders feels less like solving a problem and more like inviting a new one. Could I see Jerry Jones being intrigued by it? Absolutely. Could I see the Cowboys at least picking up the phone if Cleveland made him available? Absolutely. Would I be shocked if this rumor has more media juice than actual team interest? Not at all. That's usually how these things go. But here's the thing about the Cowboys. Even fake smoke gets national attention. That's just part of being the Dallas Cowboys. It is what it is. So what are we watching next for, boys and girls? Number one, how the Milton versus Howell competition looks once camp opens. I believe I put it on my list of the top 5 things to watch in training camp. I don't remember where I had it. But backup quarterback competition is extremely important here. If one guy separates himself, then this whole Shedeur Sanders conversation probably fades away. Number 2, whether Cleveland actually makes a move on its quarterback room. If the Browns keep everybody, then none of this matters, which they very well may. Number 3, Jerry Jones. Always Jerry Jones, because if there's one guy in football who can turn a quiet July rumor into a 3-day headline, it's Jerry Jones. But for now, my message here is very simple. Don't fall for the headline without asking a football question. Does Shedeur Sanders to the Dallas Cowboys make them better? Maybe long term. Does it make the Cowboys offseason calmer? Absolutely not. And for a team trying to finally turn the regular season noise into postseason results, calmer might be more valuable than splashier right now. And that's all I've got for you today, boys and girls. Appreciate y'all hopping in here on a Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. We will do it all again tomorrow on a Tuesday, 7 a.m. live on our FanStream Sports YouTube channels, as well as the new Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz YouTube channel. Y'all make sure to go subscribe over there as well. We'll be back to talk more Cowboys as we approach training camp. We're getting closer and closer. Lots of stuff to gab on about. We'll do it tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Until then, boys and girls, we'll see you.